Vanishing point is an excellent way to paste one photograph into another in order to match perspective. So I want to copy and paste this illustration onto the side of a building. So I'll use the Select menu to select all, and then choose Edit and Copy. Once I've copied the information to the clipboard, I can close this by choosing File and then Close. Now, to make this a non-destructive edit, I'll want to select the New Layer icon at the bottom of the Layers panel in order to add a new layer. Then, under the Filter menu, I'll choose Vanishing Point. In Vanishing Point, I need to use this Perspective Plane tool in order to define the perspective of my image. So I'll click once in the corner of the house here. I'll click again at the corner of the building. Then I sort of need to guess right now. I'll click somewhere around here and then come over, making sure that this vertical line is straight and trying to align the horizontal line with the base of the window. So I don't quite have it right, but I'll go ahead and click in order to set the perspective plane. We can see that Photoshop doesn't even recognize that as a legal plane. That's why it's red. But as soon as I start adjusting these, I'll move that in a little bit. And I'll adjust this one down just a little bit here so that we can see that it's aligning with the base of the window. And I want to be a little bit more precise here, so I'm going to use Command 1 in order to zoom in to 100%, and then I'll just realign these a little bit. Now I'm holding down the space bar in order to temporarily access the hand tool to navigate or pan around my image. And this is what I need to get a little bit straighter here. So again, holding down the space bar enables me to pan so that I can move this side of the plane down just a little bit more. All right, I'll use Command 0 in order to zoom out to 100%. And then because I want to paste this illustration over the entire front of the image area, including this area right down here, I'll click and drag down in order to extend the plane. Now, in order to add a secondary plane or a perpendicular plane, I'm going to hold down the Command key and click on the center point and drag over to the right. I need to make an adjustment to it, so I'll select the upper right anchor point and drag down in order to match the plane of this roof line right here. Now, to paste what I have on the clipboard, I'll use Command V. That pastes in the illustration. I'll want to transform it, so I tap the T key, which will give me the transformation handles. I'll click on the anchor point in the upper left, hold down the Shift key in order to constrain proportions, and resize it. I can position my cursor within the marching ants or the transformation handle and reposition it. I want to scale it down just a little bit smaller, again holding the Shift key and scaling it down. Now it might appear that I'm scaling this down too small, but as soon as I drag the pasted illustration into the plane, you can see that it actually gets a little bit larger. So it's easier for me to scale it down to be too small so that I have access to those transformation handles while the illustration is inside of that plane. So I'll hold down the Shift key again and just make this a little bit larger. And I'll grab the anchor point in the lower right and drag and make that larger as well, scaling it up so that it fills the area. I can go ahead and reposition it. We can see how the illustration bends at the corner of the house. All right, I like the illustration right about there, so I'll click OK in order to apply the vanishing point. Now, to make the illustration blend a little bit better with the house, I'll change the blend mode to linear light. That'll give me a lot more contrast. And then I need to remove the illustration from the window as well as these two objects that project from the wall. So to zoom in, I'll use Command 1, hold down the space bar in order to temporarily access the hand tool to pan around. And I think it's easier to select the window if we hide layer 1. I'll use the polygonal lasso tool in order to quickly click in the edge of the window. Then the next edge, I'll come down to the bottom here. I think I want to include the window ledge, so I'll make my selection around it, just clicking in order to set down a straight line between each click. Now, once I have this selected, in order to add the inverse mask, so let's make layer 1 visible, hold down the Option or the Alt key, and then click. I'm going to hide it again so that I can select these two other round objects. I'll select my elliptical marquee tool, click and drag out an ellipse. If I need to reposition it, I can either hold down the space bar to reposition the point of origin, let go of the space bar, and then resize the ellipse. Or if it's easier, you can go under the Select menu and choose Transform Selection. If you hold down the Command key here, you can distort the ellipse. You could rotate the ellipse if you need to. We'll just make that match up. I'll scale it a little bit to make it a little bit smaller. And when I'm finished, I'll tap Return or Enter in order to apply that transformation. I can also use the arrow keys just to nudge that to the right a little. All right, on my mask, I want to fill this with black. So I'll make it visible and then choose Edit, Fill. I'll fill with my foreground color, which is black, and click OK. I can use that same marquee, just moving it over to the other one. I might need to transform it. Again, I'll hide the visibility of the illustration layer so that I can see it better. I'll choose Select, Transform Selection, enlarge it a bit, and then tap Return or Enter to apply the transformation on the selection marquee. Make layer 1 visible one more time. And to fill with the foreground color, using the keyboard shortcut, I'll hold down the Option key and then tap Delete. We'll zoom out using Command 0. Then I'll deselect using Command D. I could always add an adjustment layer, like a curves adjustment layer, if I wanted to darken down this side of the illustration and then create a clipping mask to clip it to layer 1. But I actually like the way that this area now is lighter and it gives a little bit of definition between the rest of the house and the area that's painted. So there you go, an easy way to paste one image into another in order to match the perspective using Vanishing Point.